If you move your children to an entirely different coast. I have work and a life in Flagstaff.
Hello everyone and welcome to Happily Ever Reality. Today we are discussing Mykelti and Tony over on Patreon, watching season 19 episode 4, How the Mighty Have Fallen. But before I get into that, I just want to know what you guys think of this. Like, do you think this is weird as I do? Watch this clip of Cody again. It's the same clip that was at the beginning of this video, but watch when he says life in Flagstaff.
Different coast. I have work and a life in Flagstaff.
It's just a weird place or a weird point in what you're saying to suddenly bust out a smile. All of a sudden he's happy to say he works and lives in Flagstaff. It just feels a little odd. But enough of Cody, let's talk about Mykelti and Tony. Whenever I watch those two, there's always just some parts of it that really stand out to me. So that's what I'm going to talk about here. But one thing I do want to say is it was really heartbreaking to watch Mykelti watch her dad make up excuses to not have to communicate with his kids. I really wish she hadn't watched this one live. I wish she had just done this on her own, and if she wanted to say something, say something. But if she didn't, I think all of us viewers wouldn't have thought anything of it, because this one would just be really hard to watch if you were one of his kids. But let's go ahead and talk about some of the stuff she said. You know, in the beginning of Cody and Robin talking, Cody accuses Maddie of being a gossip, and Mykelti says that is absolutely not true. If Madison was a gossip, then she would know some of the gossip, and Mykelti never knows what's going on. So according to Mykelti, Maddie is not a person who gossips a lot. Cody goes as far as saying our family was killed by gossip, and Mykelti just keeps it short and sweet. She says, not true. So Mykelti does not agree with what Cody is saying when it comes to that sort of stuff. As far as Robin goes, Mykelti says this is who Robin is. You know, a lot of people say she's doing this to sort of help her image and Cody's image. It definitely didn't work out for Cody. This episode did not help him. But a lot of people sort of feel like she has an agenda. She's trying to manipulate things. But Mykelti says this is who Robin is. This is who she is behind the scenes. She always encourages relationships and families spending their time together and communicating with each other. So according to Mykelti, this is the real Robin. She actually says she just doesn't do it on the show. A couple of videos ago, when I was talking about Mykelti and Tony, I told you guys that Mykelti said they saw Cody and Robin quite regularly. They would come over and see the grandkids. But when you hear Mykelti talk about them, it's hard to believe. There was actually a part of the live where someone commented that Robin and Cody are closing on their new house. I will tell you, I don't know if that's true or not, so I'm not saying it. Someone had typed it in the comments while they were doing the live, and Mykelti responded by saying, "Are they still in Flagstaff?" And I mentioned a couple of videos ago that Mykelti didn't know their house was on the market. If I found out my mother's home was on the market, and I would be calling and saying, "Where are you going? What are you doing? Why wouldn't you tell me that?" Like, I would be calling her. Like, what is your plan? Even after finding that out, Mykelti didn't pick up the phone to call her dad and see where they were going. They aren't that busy. No one is so busy they can't send a text or make a phone call for 5 minutes. So you cannot tell me they are communicating. One person asked how much Cody and Robin really saw the kids, and she said before they moved, they would see the kids every few weeks. Now it's months. Now it's months between talking, because they don't live near each other, so they're not going to see them, but they will go months without talking, which I believe based on the fact that Mykelti didn't know they were selling their house and she doesn't know where they're going to live now. And just to present more evidence that they must not talk to Cody and Robin, there is a part of the live, and it's later in the episode, but they're watching Cody and Robin argue, and Mykelti and Tony are kind of discussing Cody's relationship with Robin. And Tony says, as far as we know, they're still together to this day. What do you mean, as far as you know? Like, do you think they split up in the last 12 hours? Or do you think they might have split up a month ago and you haven't talked to them in that long? In my opinion, either something really serious happened between Mykelti and Cody and Robin and it severed that relationship, or the Brown kids are just so used to not getting time with their dad, they think this is normal. And so Mykelti acts like they're still communicating a lot, and they're just not. It's one thing to say, hey, I'm busy. I didn't talk to my mom or dad for 2 weeks, or we're only texting because we don't have time for a long phone call. I get that. Work, time zone differences, all of that. I get it. But like major life events, selling your house, possibly moving to another town, it feels like Cody would have even just sent her a text and said, hey, our house is going to be listed publicly. You're going to probably hear about this. I wanted to give you a heads up so you didn't hear from people leaving comments on videos and on Patreon. I wanted you to know from me. Another thing I found interesting was hearing Mykelti talk about her dad's relationship with the kids, all of the kids in the family, as they grew up. She said when it came to doing things with their dad, they would have to compromise. And she gave this example about watching shows. And basically, they would watch what Cody wanted to watch because there were so many kids. There wasn't a way to get all of them agree on a show. So they would watch what Cody wanted to watch. And when it comes to spending time with him, or when it came to spending time with him, they would always have to do that. You couldn't just let one kid pick what you were going to do. So everyone sort of had to come together to do what worked for all of the kids. And they were always sort of compromising when it came to their dad. Mykelti says as the kids got older into middle school and those teenage years, they wanted to have their own identities. And then it would become harder for Cody to bond with them and spend time with them because they didn't want to do what the whole group wanted to do. They needed Cody to come into their world, and he wasn't used to doing that. I thought that was a fantastic way of explaining things. I also think it sort of explains some of Cody's behavior. Everyone has to do things at his house, his way. He never wants to go out and do things for other people. Do we ever hear Cody say, hey, I'm planning a day with this kid or these two kids because they both really like to go do this activity? No, Cody doesn't do that. So Mykelti says as they got older, it was harder to connect with Cody. I think that explains so much about his relationships with the kids as they got older, and how he seems to always favor the kids when they're younger. It's just easier for him because they all have to do what he wants to do. Another really insightful thing that Mykelti brought up was blanket statements. Cody talks about the kids as if they're just one big group. There's a part of it where he says, the kids are colluding against me, as if it's every single one of his kids, right? Mykelti says that's really hurtful. It's not all of them. And she makes a point. She says, when this was being filmed, she believes it truly was 11, Isabel was 18, Savannah was 16, and Gwendolyn was 21. And yes, Gwendolyn was technically an adult, but she was still very young. When Cody's making those blanket statements, it sounds like it includes those kids. And it shouldn't. He shouldn't be talking about all of them like that. And Mykelti tried to have a good relationship with him, but there he is saying the kids, and it sounds like it includes her. And she says that's just really hurtful because it's not all of them, but then it sounds like all of them. She actually says that she thinks Cody would have to say something publicly on the show to make up for this. He would need to apologize for this on the show because he said it on the show. He said it to the whole world. All the kids are against him, but that's just not true. And it's a shame because if Truly and Isabel and Gwendolyn and Savannah watch this, they think their dad's talking about them, and he's not saying very nice stuff. When it comes to Cody rebuilding these relationships, McKelty says he needs to take more accountability, and she thinks that some of the kids would reach out to him. She also says that there was a time she went to him over a situation. She wouldn't say specifically what it was, but she went to him, and at first it seems like he was going to hold himself accountable, but then he shifted the blame to someone else. As a viewer, that doesn't really surprise me. I'm surprised he went along and had the conversation about it. Cody denies all accountability. So if he was having a moment where he was talking about something and acknowledging that he made a mistake, quite frankly, I find that surprising. Someone in the chat box for the live asked about the possibility of TLC paying for Cody to travel to visit his kids and grandkids. McKelty said she thought they would do that because they were already paying for the crew to go out there and film. So she felt like they would pay for Cody to go out there as well. It doesn't surprise me that he hasn't done that. He didn't go to Isabel's surgery. So why would he randomly visit people? The only way I could see this happening is if he realized after the passing of Garrison that he needed to spend more time with his kids. You know, I know a lot of us don't think Cody's a great dad, and we don't think he was a great husband. But I think losing a child would change a person. I mean, I've never lost a child, but I know I probably wouldn't be the same. And I think I'm a pretty good mom. But it would have to just change your whole world. So it's possible, maybe with Cody, it did make him realize he needed to spend time with his children. So maybe in the future, we'll see Cody make an effort. Right now on the show, he's definitely not. But I did wonder. We have the argument with Robin happening, and then we have Cody in the confessionals. Now, when he is arguing with Robin, he says, I'm being punished for a crime I didn't commit. So we know that was winter 2022, maybe early January in 2023. Then in the confessionals, he says, I did 2 things wrong. And he mentions how he tried to get the boys to move out, and then he mentions that he didn't go to Isabel's surgery. I was disappointed when he mentioned the thing about Isabel. He didn't actually say anything about how that might have hurt her. He just mentions that it, created some bad blood within the family. He didn't actually say, I should have went. I wasn't a good father to Isabel. No. He didn't mention that. But he does acknowledge that mistakes were made. So something happened between that argument with Robin and sitting down for that confessional. I don't know if in between there was Garrison's passing, or maybe he just went and watched the last season and realized he made some mistakes. I don't know. But I think there was a little change there. I just don't know what caused it. But again, he still doesn't get it. Classic Cody. Even when he starts getting close, it doesn't fully click. I've been focusing a lot on the argument between Robin and Cody, but, the beginning of the show, McKelty and Tony were in it. I know there were a lot of people that didn't like that McKelty had McKelty had Robin stay first and Christine come later to stay with the kids. And McKelty said it was just a logistical thing. Robin lives in Flagstaff. Christine is there. So Robin had came in when she gave birth, and so she just had Robin stay because it made sense. And then Robin went home and Christine was there all the time. They lived near each other. So it was a logistical decision. McKelty said there wasn't anything else to it. There was a part of this that was a bit odd to me, and I want to know what you guys think, because I think my opinion is very much based on my life experiences, and it's possible I'm not seeing this the way everyone else does. McKelty said she thought the grandkids would bring the family together, and then she says in her own words that it didn't happen that way. This just reminded me of when McKelty wanted there to be some sort of goodbye get-together. It was a terrible idea. I don't know if she thinks she's going to pull off orchestrating something that's going to unify the whole family, or if she's just, I don't know, living in some sort of imaginary land. But to me, they're not going to be one family again. But what they can do is coexist and end up in the same places and be civil, right? I thought Robin and Christine did great. I thought it went as well as it could have. I know Christine said it was awkward and she doesn't want it to happen again, but she'd do it for her kids, right? And that's, to me, that's what I expect. People to show up for their kids, show up for birthday parties, show up for births and marriages and all of that stuff, and be civil, and be able to sit in the same rows at weddings. And I thought it went well. That's all I'm saying. I don't know what McKelty is expecting. She said it didn't go the way they wanted. Did she think they were all going to get back together? What is she expecting from her family? And she's saying for the grandkids, I think Christine sounds like a good grandma. I think Robin wants to be a good grandma. I think. Cody, I don't know. He can't be a good dad. So my expectations aren't high when it comes to him being a good grandfather. But I just don't know what McKelty is expecting out of them. I thought Christine and Robin seemed to do pretty good. So when she says it didn't work out that way, I just don't understand. So you guys let me know down in the comments if you have seen divorces where, I don't know, grandkids are born and suddenly everyone's back together. Let me know. What does it look like if you've seen this sort of family situation where people get divorced and then grandchildren are born soon? Like, what happens? Because McKelty doesn't seem to think it worked out the way she wanted. So that is it, you guys. This was a fairly short one compared to my other videos, but let me know what you guys thought down in the comments. If you haven't clicked like and subscribe, I hope you'll do that. I would definitely appreciate it. And come back on Monday. We can recap and discuss the next episode of Sister Wives.